Yes. Oh, the 3 days off? You got to remember, this is what I'm telling you to do. I never did it. But I said if I was going back, I would. Would I work? I'll tell you what, I don't know what you do because I think it's an individual preference thing, but I think if you get away from swimming for 3 days, and in today's world it's even harder because you got to turn the phone off because someone's calling you asking questions and stuff. But if you got away from swimming for 3 days, I think you'd be fresher on Monday morning. And now you've got to have help, and you've got to depend on your help. But you know, I might be home and mow the yard. It might be do something with your family. It might be go to the beach. It might be just go to the movies. But I just think away from the training environment would be real helpful. Anything else? Questions? Yes. I asked Bill Sweetnam yesterday, Bill, what did you find out in the 10 guys you went and talked to? Well, you asked about world-class swimming coach. I asked what kind of things work. What would you do in this situation? What have you done for people that are swimming this event? I'm having a real hard time with my backstrokers getting this done. What do you address this with? How would you do this? What kind of things don't work for you? I think the more, if you want a big general training thing, you ask something general. If it's something specific, a problem you're having, be very direct. I do think that if you can get a chance to get with good coaches in other sports, I think sometimes we're inbred a little too much. If you get across other sports, you get some really great ideas. That's one of the best things about being in a college environment. You see great coaches in other things. Not sure that answers your question, but yes. Swimming practice correct. I see way too many people that technique work is about doing your 25s and your drills, and we're doing stroke work today. If you aren't doing stroke work every single day at practice, through practice, you're not doing what's relevant to the meet. Holding technique when everything falls apart is when the technique is most important. And I think that we have this problem. We're back again to taking a little time to reflect and walking in and being fresh. It's real easy, you know, you start giving them sets and you got a lot of people doing things and all of a sudden some things go bad. Every time, if you ask for something that's important and you know it's important, then you better expect it all the time. Because the first time you don't expect it all the time, then it wasn't important anymore, and then it doesn't become important for the next kid in practice and everything. I think that's the thing I see most with guys coming into college. Their attention to detail on a regular basis isn't needs to be. They're fantastic. Hey, we're going to go 25s and work on technique. Boy, everyone perks up. But, you know, it's got to be the same thing when they're training. Because that's what's relative to the race. When you fall apart, you fatigue a little bit. Yes? Ask about time between trials and the games. Tremendous experience when you're on a staff. You get to see how different people approach it. It was a little trickier this time. We went back to work. As a rule of thumb for our collegiate team, we've been pretty good getting from one to the other, and we've always been really good second shaves in the summer and people. And I've always worked that you need to plan on 2 shaves. And back to younger kids, I think that if you just plan on one meet, I think you have to train them once in a while that we're going to shave and prepare at this meet, and we're going to swim another meet 3 weeks by intention. Because it's a skill, and you're going to have that skill if you're going to be in the U.S. Olympic team. So if we're going that direction. We go back to about 80% of our maximum workload as a rule of thumb. So if our normal week is 80,000, if our normal week is 60,000, we'd go back to 80% of that. So we'd go back to about 48,000. But it'd be a little more, we'd be a little more specialized in it. a little less on the utilization side. But we go back, and I think that might be something some people miss. You got to go back and hit the utilization side. But it's really tough, because if you do that too much, then you hurt the specialization at that point. So we go back in a 3-week time period. We go back for 1 week to about 80%. And then 2 weeks out, we pick up pretty much, if we were successful, the same 2 weeks we did before with a few little minor modifications. He asked at Bowles what we did to create basically a culture of not being afraid to work and moving forward. I've been really fortunate. My boss allowed me to do it the way I wanted to do it. That's the first thing. All 3 of my jobs, I've worked with someone that understood where we were going. So if your boss allows you to do it, whether it's your board or whether it's you work at a school or something, they got to know where you're going, because if you can tell them where you're going, then they can understand what's happening along the way. And I think it's a little relative to what I just told him. You tell the athletes what the expectation is, and once you've told them what the expectation is, then you have to live up to the expectation. I think Bill Sweetenham gave you not the only way to do it, but he's very, very direct on it. We valued things where people did well. We tried to build a culture around. We have an age group team at Florida that we work pretty close with. Age group coaches, when I come in, got a big team trip planned. You're going to go someplace and swim, and you got a little bit of fun along with it, and it's something everyone looks forward to. If you take the kid that doesn't come to practice, you're making a mistake. Anything we ever did when we were building that culture at Bowles was around, you had to be at practice first. It was always built around trying to be good students. They're not all angels, but there was an expectation that I started coaching. I'm kind of a teacher. I planned on going to law school and never went. I stayed in coaching because I thought we were working with young people and teaching them values. It was built a lot around the value, and the value was hard work. We did things to value the people there. I always tell stories. One year I had a tremendous group of boys. I think we had 10 guys sign major Division I college scholarship. They all graduated together. And I had almost no junior class that year, but a sophomore named Greg Burgess. It was just a heck of a swimmer. Won a silver medal, the NCAA Swimmer of the Year. I think he held the American record. Short course, just missed it long course. But Greg swam with all those older guys. And when he was a sophomore, and they were just leading him all the time. Martin Zabero was one of them, world record holder in the gold medalist in the backstroke. And those guys could really train. They're just knocking it off. The next year, I started and realizing we weren't quite as good. But Greg was a good swimmer. Sophomore, he's one of the 4 or 5 best guys in the country and really good. And we came in, I gave the same group of practices, same sort of design, but the same intervals, and no one's making intervals. Well, Greg's my leader, and he couldn't make it. And what I realized, it took me about a month. And I'm raising hell with people and getting after them about it because it wasn't what we wanted, and you're off interval. And I finally realized he couldn't do it. He was following the other guys, and there were no leaders. So we went, it really frustrated him because we had a crowded pool, a lot of people, 8 lanes. And the one lane next to the wall was always the one where the fastest folks were. And that was the fastest interval. And we went a month and no one swam in that lane. We swam in 7 lanes. And Greg used to get furious. Well, why can't I go? Well, when you can do this interval. So every day I gave him an interval. So we're increasing the expectation. I'm out the edge there. When you tolerate people that don't come to practice, then you are tolerating a scenario where why should anyone come? I'm a big believer in that. So we don't have people miss practice, and if you miss practice, there's a repercussion, and we know where people are. It wasn't uncommon even at Bowles. We have a 5 a.m. practice. Boy, if you weren't on the deck of the pool at 5:10, 5:15, I called. Your responsibility wasn't. I thought it was a life skill. Your responsibility is if you weren't going to be in practice, you had to call me and let me know why. At 5:15, we're winding up that first set. Either an assistant coach or myself went in. We picked up the phone, called your home. And parents would get mad, but I always told the parents, man, I'm worried about your son, your daughter. They're supposed to be at practice. They're out alongside the road someplace. You want me to be interested in them? Well, I'm being interested. So they aren't at practice. They didn't take care of their responsibility. Let me know. So you're up because they didn't do their job. I think when you do stuff like that, it becomes very much the thing to do. I got an assistant coach, Martin Wilby, and I know Bob had the same sort of experience, but Martin is into the college level now. Our morning practice starts at 6 a.m. And Martin has this thing where he likes to be the first guy at practice. And we try to have our whole staff there. When practice starts at 6, but Martin was going in. We're to the point now, I'm kind of the last guy sometimes. I feel bad about it, but I need to get a little more sleep. But a lot of years of getting up. But if I walk in the deck at 5:50, I'm in trouble because practice probably has started. Because we have this little thing, the last person to practice is late. So the last guy that's in the door is late. And Martin's there more, and he got into this thing. It's gotten so bad now that at swim meets, we like to warm up an hour and 15 minutes before the meet. Well, we have to change that because they're there 15 minutes before the 15 minutes. It's a good problem to have, but I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the type of, it's demands and following through on the demands.